Hi, Kai. It is my honor to present our paper, Unpacking the Lived Experience of Collaborative Pregnancy Tracking. Existing work suggests that pregnancy requires collaborative efforts between pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders, such as partners, family members, and close friends, to obtain a healthy outcome and prepare for a harmonious family dynamic. When facing pregnancy's complexity and difficulty, many pregnant people often relying on pregnancy tracking technology to help them monitor various important aspects of pregnancy, seek crucial information, and socialize with like-minded people. However, most existing pregnancy tracking apps only consider pregnant people as the users, and non-pregnant stakeholders have to register themselves as the pregnant person to use the app. For example, one non-pregnant partner complained about his experience when using the pregnancy tracking app. Unfortunately, I can only see the pregnancy progress by logging with my wife's information, or my account had to mimic the information that she put. Pregnancy is a journey that involves two people. It would be beneficial to share the mother's journey with their partners rather than relying on loopholes. Existing literature and technologies primarily focusing on pregnant people lead to a lack of understanding of how to approach designing collaborative pregnancy tracking technology when pregnancy itself requires effort from various stakeholders to be successful. I therefore conducted an interview study to answer the following research questions. First, why do pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders, such as partners, family members, friends, and colleagues, collaborate for tracking and managing pregnancy in everyday situations? Second, how do pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders collaborate for tracking and managing pregnancy in everyday situations? Third, what challenges and tensions do pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders face in the collaborative pregnancy tracking process? In this study, I conducted semi-structured interviews with both pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders to understand how people collaborate around pregnancy tracking and wish to do so. Now, I'll talk about some selective findings. Participants described tracking a wide variety of data types during pregnancy. They mostly engage with 5 different types. Maternal health data, which are pregnant people's weight, blood pressure, blood glucose level, symptoms, and medications. Mental health data, pregnant people's lifestyle data, such as their physical activity, diet, and sleep. Fetal growth data, and pregnancy and labor logistics, such as doctor appointments, notes taken during appointments, and checklists. When pregnant participants tracked independently, they mentioned that managing the complex and diverse nature of pregnancy data was burdensome. P13 complained, "It is frustrating that the burden does fall to women to track all those things. I mean, it takes time to track all of those things." Pregnant people therefore often work with non-pregnant stakeholders to jointly manage the data and gain a more comprehensive understanding of aspects of their pregnancies. So how do stakeholders collaborate around different types of pregnancy data? Findings show that pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders, usually partners, often collaborated by allocating responsibilities for monitoring different types of data based on their respective tracking capabilities and interests. Pregnant participants usually believe that they were more adaptive and monitoring data about the pregnancy which was unobservable or hard to observe, but that they physically experienced. For example, P9 felt only she could accurately count the fetal cakes since there's a lot of cakes that only you can feel, and it's not visible or be able to be felt by somebody else, especially depending on the baby's position. On the other hand, participants feel co-located stakeholders, particularly partners, were often better equipped to collect measurable or observable types of pregnancy data since they were often well attuned to the well-being and needs of the pregnant people and would take on the role of tracking those aspects of pregnancy. For example, N1, as a non-pregnant partner, said, I have mostly been keeping track of her lifestyle data, just the actual doing of making sure she's eating regularly, sleeping, drinking, etc. I am kind of keeping track of that mentally and through some notes on my phone to make sure that she hasn't developed diabetes or anything like that. Pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders often collaborated around tracking a single piece of pregnancy data to jointly manage the difficulty of collecting that data or remembering all aspects of it or interpreting it. Some types of data require data inputs from multiple parties. For example, participants often leverage their collective memory to share in the task of tracking questions that they had for doctor visits and remembering the insights that they gained from the appointments. Ford and his pregnant partner leveraged a Google Doc to record notes from each of their perspectives after doctor appointments. We're using Google and a variety of different Word documents where we would take notes. So every single time we come out of a doctor appointments, we would usually have 2 or 3 paragraphs worth of things, and we would scan anything that we were given so that we could both read it. Since much of the track data was initially manually recorded and not in digital format, often one stakeholder would do the initial non-digital tracking and another would digitalize it. And 2, as a brother of a pregnant person, also transcribed his sister's data to Excel in order to find patterns. She had a notebook that was specifically for her pregnancy-related data, but later I opted to use spreadsheet because it would be used to calculate maybe the gradual increase. However, collaborative pregnancy tracking is not always smooth and effective. Even this practice is performed within a closed social network. Interview findings show that pregnant people and non-pregnant stakeholders often face challenges and tensions that hinder their collaboration. For instance, pregnant participants sometimes face difficulties managing non-pregnant stakeholders' strong opinions about whether certain data is abnormal or not and how pregnancy should go. Our pregnant participants sometimes had tensions with their mothers around the data that they collected, stemming from their close social relationships and the mother's strong beliefs of being more experienced in pregnancy. P3's mother overreacted to her blood pressure data on one occasion, interpreting it as a potential risk and suggesting P3 having an unwanted delivery immediately. At one point, my blood pressure matched a little bit high, and my mom became very worried. She thought that I should get an emergency C-section and have the baby right then. And then my blood pressure turned out to be fine at the next appointment. Pregnant people sometimes question non-pregnant stakeholders' reliability in tracking data about pregnancy or the quality data that they tracked, feeling that they might not value the practice as much. P11 felt that she would find it more stressful to trust her partner to track rather than taking on the burden herself. My husband might forget or might do something wrong, and the anxiety over that is greater than the burden to track it by myself. Some pregnant participants were also less inclined to involve others in tracking pregnancy collaboratively, feeling that they were capable and could manage the data work independently. For example, P1 said, "There's so many things going on during pregnancy that you just have no control over. So being able to track things on your own, that does definitely feel like you have some control. It feels nicer to be able to share with family and then keep that distance from them. Challenges found in this study, such as pregnant people's difficulties in managing close social ties, strong opinions, have inspired us to think that designs could mitigate some tensions or challenges by having some restrictions during collaborative tracking, depending on the tracking topic or interpersonal relationship. Since stakeholders often have varied abilities and interests, which influence the data that we wish to collect and how they prefer to collect and review it. We further suggest that technology should enable stakeholders to negotiate around how they want to participate in collaborative tracking and what information that they engage with. For example, early in pregnancy, we could use technology to help surface the types of data that people often track and guide them through deciding who will be responsible for entry. Even if pregnant people choose more restrictive settings around intimate data, surfacing interest could lead the stakeholders to have conversations around what they feel comfortable disclosing. Thank you.